Hello, my name is Victoria Gomez, and my presentation is about Hathor. So what I'm going to be discussing is who Hathor is, where she located, her different forms, rituals, and adoration of Hathor. So who is Hathor? So Hathor is the Lady of Drunkenness, the Mistress of the West, Goddess of the Sky, of women, fertility, love, dance, and music. She has a very long list. Um, we just did a discussion on the destruction of mankind. And what we know is that Hathor, the origin of Hathor is attributed to this myth. So we know that the story about Re, the sun god, attempted to massacre the human race in light of humans plotting against the gods. And the goddess Hathor was made to hide the eye of noon. So you would often see imagery of her as a cow and holding a sun disk between her horns because it's connecting back to this story. And to add on more to the destruction of mankind, it pretty much talks about how displays of God's power and the task after the death of the sun god. Furthermore, it's associated with the Egyptian calendar as this story can be attributed to the summer heat. And lastly, it's also commentary on man's free will and the evil that lies within. And Hathor actually has her own book about pretty much her. So the destruction of mankind is a small subsection in a large ritual text. So this image is often found in kings' tombs and on shrines as well. And we find it in Tukhenaten's shrine and Seti's the first tomb, as well as Ramses the second and Ramses the fourth. In this image here, we see Hathor is defaced, and due to this is because during Akhenaten's reign, he wanted to pretty much create a monotheistic religion and took out or defaced any major religious figure in Egyptian culture, such as Hathor and Amun. And this just showcases the popularity of her. People love her, people adore her, and she's always somehow in Egyptian religion. She's a significant part of it, actually. So where is Hathor located? And to the best of my knowledge, I know Hathor is located in two distinct temples. This one I'm showing you is a plan or the supposed plan of a ruined temple in Serabit el-Khadi. This temple is in ruins and lies on top of a mountain. And the Planet Temple is not really known because a lot of religious people have made the trek here and defaced a lot of it, especially monotheistic religions. There's a lot of defacing of iconography, and there's even a etching of during this time of Christians um, stating something in the rubble. So it's obvious that the plan of this it could be skewed, and it might be because there is a random bent on the right that suddenly turns downwards, which is not normal usually for temples. The only left image in the temple of Hathor in the Sarbit el-Kadim is the smiting scene, and we do know that it is Thutmose the third smiting something, and it's not surprising that this temple is ruins and that this is the only thing that survived from it because it sits on top of a mountain and it's a 3 days journey by camel. There is another temple dedicated to Hathor that is most commonly known, and it's the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. It was made during the Ptolemy period, and it's a little bit interesting on how it's made because during the Ptolemy period, they started creating rooftop viewings for the Union of the Sun Disk ritual, and this place had secret areas to deter looting from Persians. We will now look at Hathor in many different forms, and as it's seen here, she is in the form of a mirror. And just the entirety of this mirror shows who Hathor is. The reflective surface on the top is a mirror. The handle or the holder for the mirror is horns, and the face is the iconic face of Hathor. You will often see the triangular V-shaped face with the cow ears. So it seems as if you're looking at a cow, you'll see the cow face in that shape. And another distinctable feature of Hathor is her curly wig and the vulture cap that is on top of her head, as shown here. We do got those cow ears again and the V-shaped face. And we also see Hathor a lot with Uraeus or Cobra. We have Uraeus here surrounding her on both sides. One of them wears a red crown and one of them wears a white crown. On top is another crown, a podium crown. And here is another image of Hathor. This time she's combined with two different animals, the uraeus or known as cobra, and also the cow. As you can see, the cow ears on the side a little bit. She does have that wig still, and on top she does have a shrine. This is supposed to be a sistrum. So essentially it was supposed to be used in rituals and dances for Hathor. Since Hathor is the goddess of drunkenness, of joy, she does have a lot of rituals for her. In fact, the ritual singing is pretty big for her. She was extremely popular in dance as well. And in fact, most of Hathor items, obviously not inscriptions and paintings, are used for religious ceremonies. Again, we see the cow ears, and we see actually Sen and Mut holding Hathor. And here is another sistrum. Once again, you will always see sistrums in here. So this is obviously for ritual purposes. We got the uraeus surrounding her, the curly wig, the cow ears, the V-shaped face, iconic symbols of her. This image here is really significant, and that is a priestess sarcophagus, and it's the sarcophagus of the Hathor priestess Henin Henet. So pretty much, I actually cross-referenced this into another document, which was pretty fun to find. Women who had the royal wife, priestess of Hathor, and or sole royal ornament title were buried in 6 individual chapels. I found out another woman's name. Her name was Amun. It's pretty cool. And they were all buried in a shaft beneath King Muhintop's II's temple at Deir el-Bahri. Unfortunately, she died to childbirth at 21 years old. So that's pretty sad. But anyways, the importance of this is that the priestesses of Hathor, that Hathor was such a revered goddess and such a significant part in Egypt's religion, that a king decided to bury priestesses in his own temple. And with rituals, there's always dances, or mostly always dances. And as we see here, we do see dancers dancing for Hathor, and we see Egyptians and Nubians. So the importance of dance was to be transported into pretty much like an astral plane to meet Hathor, and worshippers engaged in these nocturnal rituals for the goddess Hathor, and it was ecstatic. It was more of like a drunken state, almost like going on a trip, essentially, what we would think in modern terms. Um, and pretty much since she was the goddess of music, of dance, of love, and fertility, that these dances themselves embodied Hathor. A lot of the priestesses for Hathor were tattooed, and we start to see a trend in female figurines where we see more Hathor priestesses being made, because they are the sign of fertility, of femininity. Essentially, they are icons for womanhood. And we often see emphasis on the nipples and hair and eyes and navels. That's how we can tell it's more for fertility reasons. And they're usually made out of cheaper materials to be made for broken spells. And I put a quote here, pretty much saying that the history of Egyptian women, especially small little amulets like these, were often thought to be used for pornographic reasons, but when they found them in domestic areas, they kind of put 2 and 2 together and be like, oh, okay, this is not really anything sexually, it's more for the women who are acquiring these. My last section is the adoring of Hathor, or the adoration of Hathor, which is my favorite section by far. And this will primarily focus on the temple of Dendera. So all of these images you're going to see are actually in the temple. So pretty much the entire temple is a love letter to Hathor. And this image I'm providing you here alludes to the manifestation of Hathor as a sistrum. And it should be the holy, or would be considered the holiest part of Hathor. And as well, there's an image besides it that shows the king opening the doors, the gates of heaven to Hathor. In the temple, we get a lot of words of affirmations of love. It's almost like poetry within the temple. So I have some extra ones such as, beautiful one, how beautiful is your beauty? Or, the sanctuary of the golden one is the golden one, gilded with gold. The golden one of the gods shines in it. And the divine eye, effective in its shining effective power. Essentially, it's pretty much hyping up Hathor, and she's the best of the best. She's often associated with illumination or shininess of greatness. And in this image here, you see he is like a he who makes music for his mistress. Essentially, in this image, the king is offering sistrums to Hathor, as she is the music. She is known for music and fest and drunkenness, and it's pretty much he's saying, "I will make music for you, Hathor. I adore you. You're my everything." Another image I liked within the Temple of Dendera was this one, which is the Lady of Drunkenness, the Lady of Joy. I think this image embodies Hathor and who she is, and the pretty much the whole entire vibe of the temple. What this image is trying to say, by the king offering the wine, he's repeating drunkenness for her incantation. So pretty much he's so infatuated with her that he's in a drunken state of love. And this image can also be associated with another myth called Distant Goddess. And that myth is about Thoth giving wine to Hathor. In conclusion, what I found the most interesting in my research was the last section of Adoration of Hathor. We also learned on who is Hathor, where is she located, what are the rituals for Hathor, and obviously adoring Hathor as we just covered. I recommend reading The Theology of Hathor of Dendera, Oral and Visual Scribal Techniques in the Per-Word Sanctuary by Richter. It's an amazing read. It's fairly interesting, and I bet you'll get a few laughs out of it. So yeah, that's it for my presentation.